What's up everyone, Chance here with Real Sim Gear. In this video, we're gonna be covering what's in the box when you order the GTN650 and the GTN750, and then we're gonna take them over to the computer and I'm gonna show you how to set them both up. Now, before we get into the unboxing, I wanna show you some of the optional accessories you might wanna consider picking up when ordering any of our avionics. And so the first question you wanna ask yourself is, how are you going to mount it? And so we have these desktop stands that you can mount a single 750 to, like this stand right here. Let's say you purchase both of these and you wanted to mount them both. We have a 650, 750 stand for you. Or let's say you're trying to simulate something that's a little more like what you would see in a real general aviation cockpit. So something like this would be a GMA 350 audio panel, so you can switch between the comms very easily, a 750, and then a autopilot. Or you can go 350, dual GTN650, and an autopilot, something like that. So you have a lot of options there. There's a bunch of different desktop stands. Another option I would consider looking at is our Real Sim Gear yoke top package, where on the right side, you can choose your avionics stack, and there's a bunch of different variations. And then on the left side, you can choose some glass instrumentation like the G5s, G500, and all of that is mounted onto a yoke. So those are your options for mounting it onto whatever simulator setup you have. Now, the other question you want to ask yourself is, how are you going to connect it to your computer? So let's say that you don't have a bunch of HDMI ports on your PC, or you're someone like me and you already have 3 monitors taking up all the real estate, all of the HDMI ports on your computer. You can pick up one of these dual HDMI to USB 3.0 adapters, and that's going to essentially allow you to plug 2 Real Sim Gear pieces of avionics or 2 monitors into these HDMI ports here, and then it's only going to take up 1 USB 3.0 port. So that's a really good option. And then let's say you're running out of USB ports on your PC. You could pick up one of these USB 3.0 hubs for your computer, and that's going to essentially allow you to expand one hub into 7 or 10. So you have your 7-port hub right here and a 10-port hub. Now, there is a difference between the 7-port hub and the 10-port hub besides the amount of connections. On the 7-port hub, you're going to have the USB Type B to A cable on the front, as well as the power supply. And then on the 10-port hub, the Type B to A cable and the power supply is on the back. So I prefer the 10-port hub. That way I can have all of the USB Type A ports facing me, so I have easy access to plugging things in. And then I have the power supply and the other cable that's going to my computer hanging out the back. So that way I can mitigate the amount of cables that's just hanging on top of my desk. Okay, so that's it for the optional accessories. Let's go ahead and unbox the 650, and then we'll unbox the 750. All right, so this is the GTN 650. You got that little paper right here that you can peel off. And then on the back of this thing, you have this USB Type B connection, which the cable's included. And then over here on the side, you have the HDMI connection, as well as the power supply. So that goes right here. That's your power that goes into the wall. And then this will go to your PC, to an HDMI port on your graphics card. Don't plug this into the one on your motherboard. Now, also with this included is going to be a right angle HDMI adapter. And so that way you don't have a cable coming straight out the side from this thing. It'll just come straight back when you get this 90-degree adapter, which I'll show you in a second. So here's the USB Type B to Type A 2.0 cable, and this is going to go directly into your PC. And this part right here, this Type B connector, is going to go into the GTN650. All right, and then here is the 90-degree HDMI adapter. And so this is going to go into the 650, and then you're going to get this 90-degree connection that allows you to have a cable coming straight out the back, so it doesn't come straight out the side. So essentially you would take this like this, and then you're going to plug this into the side like this. So that way the cable just comes straight out of the back. Okay, and then you're gonna get the power supply. So this part's gonna go into your wall, and then this part is gonna go into the 650. And then finally, you're gonna get some screws in case you were to purchase one of our stands. So when you order the 650, make sure you have the 650 itself, the USB Type A to B 2.0 cable, the power supply, the right angle HDMI adapter, and some mounting screws. All right, I'm gonna pack all this up, and then we're going to open up the 750. All right, so here is the 750. Here's this quick start checklist. Make sure you have all the stuff. I'm gonna show you how to set it up here in a second, so you don't really need to worry about that. We'll remove this guy, and we'll pull him out. All right, and then on the back of this thing, you're gonna have some different connections on this guy. You have a USB Type B connection. This cable's included in the box, and that's gonna go directly to your PC. And then you have an HDMI port. Again, that's gonna go into your PC or your dual HDMI to USB adapter. And then here is your power supply. And so that's where the power is gonna connect, and then that's gonna go into your wall. Okay, and then you're gonna have this USB Type B to Type A cable. So the Type B goes into the back of the 750, and then the Type A will go into your PC. All right, and then here is the power supply. So the power supply, again, this is gonna go into your 750, and then this is gonna go into the wall. And then like with everything else, you're gonna get some mounting screws in case you were to order one of our stands. So when you order the 750, make sure that you receive the 750 itself, the USB 2.0 type B to A cable, the power supply, and the mounting screws. Okay, next we're gonna head over to the computer and I'm gonna show you how to set everything up. Okay, now that we have unboxed the GTN650 and the 750, it's time to set it up on our PC with X-Plane. I've already went ahead and mounted the 650 and 750 onto the desktop stand right here, in addition to the GFC500 autopilot. And so that part is actually really straightforward. All you're gonna need is a pair of scissors to cut the rubber feet up to place on the bottom of the desktop stand, as well as a small screwdriver to mount everything with the screws. So I'll just fast forward through me setting all that up. And there are actually quite a lot of steps when setting up the 650 and the 750 on your PC. And so it's very imperative that you follow along with me as closely as you can, as some of these steps really need to go in a very particular order. Okay, so step one is to make the physical connections. So let's go and do that. All right, so I'm gonna start making the physical connections here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug in all of the USB type B to A cables into my 10-port hub here, which is Velcro down with some command strips to the front of my desk so I can plug things really easily into it. So I'm gonna grab those cables and I'm gonna plug all three of those in. So if you're just setting up your autopilot right now, the GFC500 or the 700, it's just gonna have this one connection. And so that's all you need to do for the physical connections part. Okay, now that we have all the USB cables plugged in, I'm going to plug in the HDMI cables. And remember on the 650, it's nice to have that adapter plugged in right here. So the HDMI cable comes straight out. Okay, so I'm gonna plug in that adapter. Boom. And now the HDMI cable. Okay, so it's important to note, I do have the HDMI cables going into the dual HDMI to USB adapter, but I don't have that adapter plugged into my 10-port hub. I have that going directly into the back of my PC. That's just because I want the least amount of interference, the least amount of connections or stuff in the way when connecting my avionics to my PC. If you are running into any issues, triple check that you're not running an adapter into a hub into the PC. Now that I have the HDMI cables plugged in, I'm going to plug in the power. Okay, so that's all connections. Just another reminder, this black USB port right here is not to be used. Please, please, please don't use this port. It's for manufacturer use only. If you try to use something off of this or daisy chain off of this port right here, you're gonna run into some issues. So don't use this. Don't use it. But that is all the connections, so now it's time to set it up on the computer. Okay, now that we have all the physical connections connected, be sure you see the window screen on each of your displays. If you don't see the window screens on here, just look in the back one last time and push all of the connections in, make sure they are all the way in. Once you have all that set up, it's time to move on to step two, which is to change the display setting. So if we go over to the computer and we right click just on any screen here, we can click on display settings, and this is where we're gonna configure where Windows thinks the screens are, okay? And so for you guys, they might be here or some other random place. And essentially what I want you to do is I want you to place them to the bottom right of your main monitor that you're going to use for your simulator. Okay. And so I'm going to use this top monitor up here that I have. So I have this ultra wide monitor that I'm not going to use, or I'll use it as my instructor station. I'm not going to use this top left one here. I'm going to keep that just unused. But number 4 and number 5 are my GTN650 and 750. And so first I kind of want to figure out which one is which. So I'm going to click this identify button. All right. And that's going to populate a bunch of numbers on my screen. You kind of got to keep clicking it. And so the GTN750 is number 5. It's okay that it's horizontal. That's how you want it to be. You don't change anything there. And number 4 is the 650. And so what I want to do is I want to go ahead and place the 750, the bigger one first, the top one first, and then I'll place the 650 to the right of it. I know it's a little backwards. Number 4 is like the bigger screen, but that's just how it sees it. So that looks good. It's to the bottom right of my main monitor, and I'm going to click apply. Okay, that was rather painless, I hope. Now it's time to move on to step 3, which is to change a couple of Windows settings. And so if we stay in this kind of same window here, I'm going to click on system. That's going to bring me back to the main system page. And then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to find multitasking. I'll click on that. And what I want you guys to do, I want you to turn off snap window. So it's probably on for you. And what this looks like is if you hover your tab or something up here or to the left, you know, it's going to drag it in a certain way. And so we don't want that to happen while while we're placing screens on the 650 or 750. So make sure that is turned off. Otherwise, it's just going to be kind of a pain in the butt. And then we're going to head over to personalization, and we're going to come over to taskbar. It's the third one from the bottom. We're going to click on taskbar behaviors here at the very bottom. And then I want you to make sure that it's on automatically hide the taskbar. And then maybe this show my taskbar and all displays is on. I want you to turn that off too. So automatically hide the taskbar. That's probably how it already is, but if it's not, just make sure that is set there. So those are a couple of things that's just going to make your life a little bit easier when you're setting things up. But now it's time to move on to step 4, which is to map the screens for the 650 and the 750. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to hit the Windows key on my keyboard, or you can just kind of find the Windows button on your taskbar since you got to hover over the bottom to pull it up. I'm going to come up here to the top and I'm going to type in Control Panel. That's going to pull up this app right here. I'm going to click on that and it might show you this view in large icons, but you don't want to keep it in this large icons. Go ahead and switch from large icons over to category via this drop down up here. And if you have the 650 and the 750 hooked up correctly, then you should see on the bottom here this tablet PC settings. So go ahead and click on that. And then that's going to pull up this other little window here. And all you have to do is click on setup. So you're going to click setup here, and what that's going to do, I'm not sure if you can see it on your main screen here, but that's going to pull up a bunch of white screens on all of your monitors that says tap this screen with a single finger to identify it as the touchscreen. And if it's not a touchscreen, just go ahead and hit enter. And so that's not a touchscreen up there. I'm going to hit enter. That's not a touchscreen, enter. That's not a touchscreen, enter. And so now you can see it on my 750 here. So I'm going to tap it. And so then it says enter to proceed. And then I'm going to tap the 650 and then we're done. And so now we've basically told Windows that this is a touchscreen. And so now I can use my finger to, it might be hard to see for you, but it's drawing those little, the boxes on the screen on both the 650 and the 750. And so make sure that's working for you. If it's not working for you, or if, maybe you can see the Windows screen on here, but it's not allowing you to touch it at all, check in the back, make sure that USB connection is fully inserted. But that's how you map the screens, super easy. So now it's time to move on to step 5, which is to purchase Reality XP. And so these won't function without the Reality XP software. You won't get the menu systems at all. And so we're going to purchase the $35 Reality XP for the 750 and for the 650. So if you go to reality-xp.com, then you're going to hover over the top here and click on store and then click on product catalog. Now, this is where it can get a little bit tricky. You can see that there is a GTN750 and 650 software for Prepared and Flight Simulator. That's for Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is for X-Plane right now. Actually, just a quick correction. I say here Microsoft Flight Simulator, which implies Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 or the future 2024. But this Flight Simulator X or Flight Simulator 10 thing is an older dead sim platform, which is not the same as Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 or 2024. So to be clear, Reality XP is not compatible with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 or 2024. All right, sorry about that. Let's get back to it. And so make sure you purchase it for the correct simulator. It's only going to work with one of them. And so here it is for X-Plane, it's for Windows, and it's for the 750 and the 650. I want to make sure that that's correct. Okay, then I'm going to click checkout right here. I need to purchase both the 750 and the 650. And so if I look here, it's for X-Plane. It unfortunately brings you to a screen where you could also purchase it for Microsoft Flight Simulator or Prepared. So I'm going to make sure I'm clicking on the correct one. This is X-Plane 12 or 11. Now you are going to want to click on this download the 30% coupon first. Now, if you're buying two of them like I am, I'm purchasing the 650 and the 750. I actually haven't figured out a way to get this download the 50% bundle coupon to work at all. And so just to get through this video, I'm going to do the 30% for each. So if you are buying two of them, I'm sorry about that. Reality XP doesn't really get back to us very quickly. I'm not sure why this 50% bundle thing isn't working, but we're just going to do the 30% as most of you are probably just going to be using one. So I'm going to download this coupon first. So when I click on this download button, it's going to download a zip folder for me right here. And if you don't see this populate for you, depending on which Windows you have, you can right click on your File Explorer and click on File Explorer. And then when you click on downloads, it's going to bring you to all your recent downloads. And so this RXP zip folder, I need to extract it right here. And so I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to click extract all, and that's going to extract the coupon. You don't have to change anything. Just go ahead and click extract. Basically, it's going to extract it to the same downloads folder. So click extract. That's going to bring up my coupon. So now I know where it is. It's in my downloads folder. I'm going to access it in a second. So I'm going to go back to realityxp.com and I'm going to download the e-commerce installer for the 750, or if you're doing it for the 650, make sure you purchase it for the 650. So I'm doing both. Doesn't matter which one I click on. I'm going to click on download e-commerce installer. That's going to install it in the top right here. I just click on it once. Just got to wait a second. Okay, now that I clicked on that, it's installing. I'm gonna go ahead and click on the other one as well, since I do need to purchase both. So I'll just click on that too. Now I just gotta wait for both those to install. A little bit bigger, so give it a minute or two. Okay, so now that I have downloaded both the 750 and the 650, hopefully you just downloaded whatever one that you need. I'm going to go ahead and try to run one of these. So let's start with the 750 first, and then we'll work down. So I'll double click on the exe file. So this right here happens to me every single time. Windows is gonna try to protect your PC from running this software. There's nothing wrong with this software. It's just kind of the way it is, unfortunately. That's just Reality XP for you. It should be pretty intuitive for how to proceed. So for me, I have to click on more info, and then I'm gonna click on run anyway. That's totally okay. It's not gonna damage your computer. It's just the way the software is. All right, and then once you get to this screen, then we're gonna go ahead and click on test connection. And so some of the times, even though I'm directly connected to super fast internet, it says that it won't connect. Looks like I passed on the first try on this one. If you don't pass on the first try and you're definitely connected to the internet, go ahead and click OK, and then you'll get to this screen and click continue, and then you'll click OK, and then exit out, and then relaunch it again. That usually fixes it for me. So just a heads up. If that happened to you, I'd love to have you leave a comment for me below, or something else is happening to you, leave a comment below so I can pin the comment or something, and that way everyone can benefit from it if they run into the same problem you are. So here is where we put in our info and we pay for Reality XP with this plugin here. So you have an option to create a Flight One login account. I recommend that you do that, as it makes maybe reinstalling it if you uninstall it later a little bit easier. And then just make sure that you write down your credentials so you memorize them. Okay, now in order to get this from 50 bucks down to the $35, we need to use that coupon. So I'm gonna click on coupon and then just click OK here. And now I'm gonna find that coupon, which is right there in my downloads. I'll double click that and there's my coupon. So I'll click that and it says it contained this 30% off bundle. Click OK and bang, we're at $34.97. So now all you have to do is click on this icon here. It's gonna allow you to put in your information, put all that in, click here, put in all your payment details, and then click here for secure purchase. I have already purchased it though, so I'm gonna hit click here to reinstall. I'll click I agree, and then I'll click validate. So for you, it's probably gonna pull up another prompt that's just gonna be like, okay, do you wanna download, select a folder. It might just put it into your local disk C. So you can just select okay. I already have a Reality XP folder, so that's good. It says we will now extract your application to that destination that you chose. Would you like to automatically run the setup program afterwards? Click yes. Okay, so it's running that exe file. Then you're gonna get another pop-up, which you can't see on my screen right here, that basically said, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? You're gonna click yes, and then click I accept. So pay attention to this part right here. It says the first time the product installs, this setup downloads the Garmin GTN Trainer software installer from Reality XP for your convenience. Next, next. Choose which one you want to install it to. If you just have 12, just do 12. If you just have 11, just do 11. If you have both, I'm going to do both because, you know, sometimes I'll just maybe swap back to 11 if I need to. So I'm going to click next. Do I want it to install into my base X-Plane 11 folder? I do. Do I want it to install into my base X-Plane 12 folder? I do. Just clicking next for these. It should automatically pull that up for you. Okay, right here, we do need to download the Garmin trainer. So I'm going to make sure that's selected and then click next. And then right here, create a desktop shortcut. I don't want it to create a desktop shortcut. I don't want to subscribe to product updates and notifications, so I'm good there. And then I'll click next and nothing there. I'm gonna click install. Cool. So that's just gonna take a couple seconds to install, and then we're going to rinse and repeat that very same process for the 650. So this is a copy of the trainer as it's saved to this place. Okay, so you're just gonna click through the menus here, and then you're gonna click next, and now we just wait for the download. So, okay, so that says the install was successful. Then it says launch aviation trainers on exit. So we'll just click exit, sure. See what it's about. Okay, so now that the Garmin trainer has launched, you should see this GTN750 or whatever you downloaded, the 650, in this navigator section right here. Okay, and so that means you're good and you never have to open that thing again. So awesome. I, however, need to go through that same process again to download the 650. I gotta go back to Reality XP, purchase it, and go through all that same stuff. So I'm gonna fast forward through me going through all that. All right, so now that I've downloaded both the 650 and the 750, it's time to move on to step 6, which is to load up X-Plane and activate the Reality XP software. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do when you get in here is head over to the settings tab, and we're going to jump over to this graphics tab right here. So you might load up initially into general, come over to graphics right there, and then we're going to scroll down, and then here's where we configure all of our extra monitors. If you're in X-Plane 11, you're going to have to scroll all the way down first, and then the horizontal bar is going to populate so you can scroll over. So kind of a pain in the butt with X-Plane 11, but essentially what we're going to do is make the 650 and the 750 2D panel only, and then you can change certain things. Like if you have another monitor, you can make that the instruction instructor station so you can easily move yourself around, which I'm going to do with my ultra wide right here. And then I'm going to keep my full screen simulator, the top one that I have right here. So if I click on monitor 3, that'll expand it. And then I see this drop down and I can make it unused or 2D panel only. So I'm going to keep it at 2D panel only. I'll click on the fourth one here, either unused, full screen instructor station, 2D panel only. I'm going to just keep it there. Make sure that's full screen monitor. I like that this is an instructor station. So that's all good. I'm going to keep this other one unused, not going to touch it. And I'm going to click done. Okay. And so now it's time to load up the flight so we can enable the GTNs on here. And then we got to do a couple more steps. So it doesn't really matter which aircraft you select. The GTN650 and 750 are going to work independently. So I'm going to select this 172 November Garmin that we use in the course Flight Sim Pro. And if you don't know what Flight Sim Pro is, I'll talk about it in a second, but essentially we teach you how to use your flight simulator to prepare for real world flight training, like your private pilot certificate, or depending on when you're watching this, your instrument rating. So we'll get into that a little bit, but I'm just going to select this airplane that's included in the course. And we are loading up at Montgomery at this GA6 spot that's not on the runway. And then I'm going to click start flight. All right. So now that I've loaded up, I'm going to come up here to the top left and hover my mouse until this menu bar pulls up, and I'm going to click on plugins. And I'm going to come down to where it says Reality XP GTN. I'm going to hover my mouse over the GTN1, and GTN1 I actually want to be the 750 because that's going to be my COM1 that's going to be on top. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'll click plugins again, go down to Reality XP for my second GTN, and I'm going to select the GTN650. Okay, so clicking on that GTN652 actually populated this pop-out window right here. And if it didn't do it for you, then you can just go back up to this plugins menu, click Reality XP GTN again, go over to the GTN that didn't pop out for you, and then scroll down and click on pop-out window. That's going to pop it out somewhere. And if you don't see it, you can hold Alt on your keyboard and then hit Tab a bunch of times until you see it. So that's going to bring it to the very front once you click on the 750 or 650, whatever you have. So it did populate it for me. It populated it over here. All right. And then I'm going to populate my 650 and I'll click continue on this. Now you'll notice that the 750 has this bezel right here. And normally the 650 has a bezel too. I think I just set it up once prior to this, so that's why it doesn't. But the 750 has a bezel. We want to get rid of that, but I had to come in here first to activate the 750 and the 650 to essentially tell X-Plane where I'm going to be placing these things. So when I download the Real Sim Gear plugin, which is the very next step, it's going to remove the bezel from that location, essentially. Not to get too complicated on you. And really quick, I actually forgot something here that may or may not be default for you. So let's triple check it. So basically, you're going to want to come back up to this top left menu here, click on plugins, find your Reality XP hardware again, and then carefully hover over to settings. And you click on settings, and then you're going to scroll down under this gauge options category, and then you're going to find use simulator GPS commands. So you want to make sure that is selected. It may or may not be already selected for you. If it is not selected, make sure you click on it so it is selected. Click on accept the changes and then go ahead and close it out. Now that should change it for all of your Reality XP hardware, the GNS1, GNS2, or if you're doing GTN, GTN1, GTN2. But if you're running into issues, maybe check the one that you're having issues with and ensure that this use simulator GPS commands thing is working. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Let's get back to it. But essentially now all we have to do is download the Real Sim Gear plugin. So I'm going to scroll this over here. I'm going to full screen it. And then I'm going to move the 650 over to it. And I'm going to full screen it. And then I'm going to exit so I can download the Real Sim Gear plugin. So I'll go file, quit, and we'll quit that. Okay, so now it's time for step 7, which is to download that Real Sim Gear plugin. So go to realsimgear.com, click on this support tab right here, and then we're going to click on this downloads button. We're going to click on downloads for X-Plane, the second one down right here, since we're doing X-Plane right now. And then X-Plane 11 and 12 installer for Windows. We'll click on that. That's going to download it in the top right here. Again, if you don't see it, come down to your file explorer here, right click, open up the file explorer, and then it's going to show up in your downloads. So I'll just go ahead and this one here. So that's going to run the installer. I'm going to click yes on that. Do you want to make changes thing? We'll click next. I agree. And so here we're going to tell it what Real Sim Gear hardware that we currently have installed. And so we have the Real Sim Gear GTN650 and the 750. And also we have the GFC 500 installed right here too. And so since I have a GFC 500, or if you had a 700 or a GMA 350 audio panel, you would click on this all other RSG hardware, and it's going to install the plugin for those. So I got the 650 selected. I got my other RSG hardware selected. I'm going to go ahead and click on next. And then it asked me what base folder. I just want it to go in X-Plane 12. So we'll download that guy. And then this prompt right right here is basically asking if we're using Reality XP, which we are, and if we'd like it to remove the bezel, which we do. So I'm going to click yes, and then now I'll click finish. And now it's time for step 8, which is to load back up X-Plane and then move the screens over to their correct position. All right, so I'll open up X-Plane. You can double check the same thing, that your settings have it showing the proper stuff. So the 750 and 650 are both 2D panels, and the full screen simulator is your main monitor, your instructor station, whatever. I'm going to click done and then click new flight. I'm going to select the 172 November that's carbureted that we put in the course for you. Montgomery Field, daytime, clear weather, start flight. So I just loaded it up and my 750 is actually in a landscape orientation. I want it to be portrait. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my display settings. So you might need to back all the way out for this. I'm just going to do this on my other monitor over here. So I'm going to click on display settings. I'm going to click on, I'm going to identify first. So I'll click identify. The GTN750 is number 5. So I'm going to scroll down here and it says landscape. So I'm going to click on portrait, and it looks like it actually needs to be portrait flipped. So I'll just revert and I'll click on portrait flipped. And then there we go, that fixed that. Earlier I said that that's the way that it'd like to be. I thought it auto corrected it, but I guess it doesn't. So we're gonna keep the changes now that we've flipped that to portrait flipped, and then we're good there. So click exit. And now what we have to do is, they are in the correct place, but I have this dreaded white bar right here. So I can go ahead and touch this screen now, and looks like that's working, but I wanna get rid of that white bar. How do I do that? So I'm gonna scroll over. So I know from my display settings that these screens are to the right of my full screen simulator. So I'm gonna scroll my mouse over to the right until I end up, or you can even just touch here, and that's going to move your mouse over to that screen. And I'm going to click and drag this over. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to position the 750 window in a way where it's going to remove that white bar. So what I like to do is I like to make it very long and skinny, and then I'm going to align this bottom right corner here with the bottom right corner on the 750 screen. Okay, so now that I have it really long and really skinny, I'm going to take this bottom right corner and I'm going to align it with the bottom right corner on the 750 here. I'm going to drag this over and I'm going to line up that bottom right corner there. There we go. And then I'm going to come back to my main screen. I'm going to take this white bar and I'm going to move it up until I can no longer see the white bar on the 750. So I want that to be the exact pixel that makes that white bar disappear. There we go. And now I'll hover my mouse over this left side here and I'll scroll in until it's perfectly lined up on the side here, and no longer see it on my full screen sim. And there we go. Cool. So I'll click continue there. That looks awesome. Can click on map. That's all set up there. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with the 650. So I'm going to grab it from the white bar. I'm going to bring it over to my main screen. I'm going to make it really skinny and really long, since it's got to go over 2 screens now. It's going over the 750 to get to the 650. I'll drag it over and I'm going to line that bottom right corner. Might be kind of hard to see there. Bottom right corner. There we go. And then I'm going to take this. I'm going to drag it up until I can no longer see the white bar. It's on the 750 right now. That's okay. We're going to fix that in just a second. Boom. And then I'm going to drag this edge here. I'm going to go all the way across onto these other screens, onto the 650 here, and make sure I just put it in a way where it's on the very edge of the 650 and not on the 750. Okay. Bingo. So I'll click continue there. There we go. Click on map. And now we have the 650 and the 750 all set up. The only thing that's left to do is to test the hardware function. We know the screens are working, but let's make sure that the hardware is working. So what I'm going to do is come to this main screen here, click on plugins, and then I'm going to click on Real SimGear device interface, and then select connected hardware. And so that's going to pull up the device interface right here, which is going to show me all of the hardware, all of the Real SimGear hardware that I have connected. Now, this is an important one. Besides checking to make sure it works, you also want to make sure that you have COM1 and COM2 as the correct piece of avionics. So the GTN750 says it's COM2 right now. So that means if I select the 750, it's going to change the stuff on the 650. See that? I don't want that to be happening. So I'm going to come over to COM1 on the 750 and select that. And then I want COM2 to be the 650, since that's on the bottom. That just makes sense. Okay, now when I select the 750, it's going to change the 750. And when I move the selector on the 650, it's going to change the frequency on the 650. So there you go. Also, if I move the autopilot, I'm moving the altitude selector, it shows under this message tab right there, this message category, that I'm moving the altitude selector. Same with the heading selector. Same if I hit the autopilot button, right? Vertical speed, all that stuff. So that is working. Everything's working the way it should. If something isn't working, make sure you check the connections in the back. All right. But that's basically it for this video. That's how you set up the 650 and the 750. And if you did want to learn more about how to use your flight simulator to prepare for real world flight training, check out our online course called Flight Sim Pro. Inside the course, we teach teach you how to use your flight sim to prepare for your private pilot certificate, and depending on when you're watching this, your instrument rating too. We show you how to use your checklist to start, taxi, take off, level off, descend, land, everything that I would teach one of my students since I'm a CFII with over 3,000 flight hours. And I've jam-packed this course with all of the pro tips that I've learned over the last 7 years of flying, which I know will save you a ton of time and headache that I had to go through in my flight training to learn it all. So if you want a sneak peek inside the course, go ahead and click the link in the description to watch our video on how to start a Cessna 172, or head over to flightsimpro.com to learn more. But that's it for this video. Let us know if you need anything else. You can email us at support@realsimgear.com, and we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.